Now, welcome back. Make sure you get interactive. We're talking about TV3 Ghana. We're across social media. And when you get onto Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, we're also streaming live on TV3NewDay.com. Let's get matters going. Apart from us thinking about trotro, etc., you may be having that headache. We'll be quickly looking at the main focus of our discussion this morning. And it will definitely be on health, whether it's on the policy side or the normal communicable or non-communicable ailments that tend to plague us. But let's look at the newspapers first. Before I introduce my guests, we have the daily graphic. We have government releases 200 million Ghana cedis for free SHS. There's a big argument yesterday. TV3 News, we decided to go speak to the big unions. They're well concerned about the funding of the free SHS because it's something they've been echoing over the period. That also seemed to have been re-echoed by the Asantehene. I don't know, but the thing is that he decided not to say it in Ghana. He went to the United States of America, Memphis, before he decided to say that. It's always safe, you know. So that time I'll banana atmosphere na. So he decided to do that. But look, the banner headline on the front page of the Daily Graphic says, government releases 200 million Ghana cedis for free SHS. That's a good thing. It's a story filed by Severus Khalideri. Africa needs strong policies on mining Jinapo at mining in Daba. And that's an event that's taking place right here on the continent. And then we have doctors, dentists can resit exam after 5 attempts. That's according to the council. True. Doctors, dentists can't resit exam after 5 attempts. It's good that I have members of the Ghana Medical Association right here. I have the General Secretary. I'll introduce him soon and ask him why. So those of us who went to Fancheniko Senior High School, so after 5 attempts, because our foundation is, we can't be doctors. Well, we can go to Cuba and then try and be medical doctors. So on the back page, we do have 5 shots dead in Boko. It's a big issue. Dr. Ghana with the Security Institute, with the UPSC also having that conversation with us, giving us a historical perspective on that subject. But of course, throughout the rest of the day, we'll be following that up. 8 people have been dead in the last 48 hours. Sub-Saharan Africa faces cancer threat. Lancet Oncology reports. It's all health. So when you go also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we do have, we're ready to partner government to ensure successful implementation of e-levy. The Momo Agents Association apparently decided to do a turnaround. They met the president, the finance minister. It looks like the conversation was very much enriched. They had a buy-in, and so that's a good thing for all of us. At least we'll know some peace. So no complaints from all of us. Transport fare adjustment. GPRTU urges public to bear with 20% increment. What did they tell us from that interaction or that press conference on Tuesday is that 20% is nothing that we can't absorb. Okay, alongside all the e-levy we have to pay. And 5 companies to begin COVID-19 vaccine production in West Africa. We already do know that the one that is producing vaccine in South Africa has been complaining to the World Health Organization that apparently they've not been having some, as far as related offers from around the world and also on the continent to have their vaccines that are produced in South Africa to be bought. So they don't have off-takers. That's a big issue. But the main banner headline on the front page of the Ghanaian Times is 5 killed in reprisal attacks, Boku chieftaincy dispute. Depends on where you want to look at it. Many other death numbers keep changing. On the front page of the Daily Guide, we do have NDC picks flag bearer in February 2023. Jenapo advocates resource rationalism framework. Krowo settles on Atajima. And albeit on the back page, we do have a Cultural trade ball bounces back. A lot of sports stories. And you just have to grab a copy of the Daily Guide and get an insight into all that has been happening across the world of sports. We also have it right here on the program New Day. We also have the front page of the Finder, the Momo agent story. And it's been well captured, just like in the minds of many of us. Momo agents make U-turn, say they now back e-levy at a meeting with President Akufo-Addo. I love this, Momo agent. I have to call the president. I had an interaction with him before this meeting, and he didn't tell me that they'll get convinced. So I asked him what was the game changer. And natural resource governance thrives on fair rules and transparency. Again, the Jenapo story occupying the front page of the Finder. And we have a couple of them. We have the Republic, Press, the Publisher. Okay, Momo agent right here as well. The Daily Statesman, Momo agent back e-levy, pledge to ensure successful implementation. Once the Momo agents say they've agreed to it, we have no choice. Well, we'll go with it. I mean, that's what it is. But this great man occupying the front page of the BNFT, the Business and Financial Times, is 80 years. And what a great man, contributing over the years to Unilever, as well as the Benzo oil palm plantation. And then also a great business magnate, great contributor to economic policy making in our country, Ishmael Yamson. Dr. Ishmael Yamson at 80. SOEs require structural governance reforms to be profitable. You need to read this. Yeah, definitely. Well, let me just introduce my guests for the morning. I'll pick a word or two of them on the subjects occupying the front pages before we get on to the mainstream issues we want to discuss. Dr. Titus Beyo is a Pojoba, but he's the General Secretary for the Ghana Medical Association. He's a regular on TV3 as well as the other subsidiaries of Media General. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
A friend told me that you were once into student politics.
Yes.
Yeah, you're now into professional politics.
Yeah, union politics.
Okay, you call it union. Eh? Okay, so we'll talk national politics today.
Okay.
And whether you'll be shying away from party politics.
No, we won't discuss that now.
Okay. Dr. Dennis Botte is a medical practitioner. Somebody also we very much associate with right here on the show as well as on the channel. Dr. Dennis Botte, how are you?
I'm good, Roland. How
Great.
are you too?
Yeah. What struck me today were the number of headlines on Momo agents backing e-levy. I'm told that for those who are in the medical profession, you don't tend to undertake a lot of e-levy, but at least you have some thoughts. Let me start with you. The brouhaha before this buy-in by the Momo Agent Association, what do you make of it? As far as the implementation process, and then also what has gone on so far with the responses from the public?
All right. Thank you for the opportunity once again. I think e-levy, whether we like it or not, has been passed. We may personally have my views on it. I wish it didn't have to be there, but it is there. It is here with us.
What's your personal view?
I mean, I think that if we needed to pass e-levy, we should have put in some caveats to exclude some people.
Like what?
For instance, we know how much I am a salaried worker. I'm paid a certain amount. I'm taxed on that amount. Could my monthly expenditure beyond that salaried amount be what I'll pay e-levy on? You know, but if I'm paying e-levy still within that, it's a form of a double taxation. You have taxed my salary. You've given me what I have after tax to spend. And when I'm spending that, you are taxing it because that's the only income I'm spending. So if I have additional income and you have a way for those of us who are on a regular salary system that you can tax us, because the purpose for the initial understanding was to widen the tax net, to bring in people who are not taxed. So for those who are being taxed that you know, why don't you find a way of protecting them and then taxing them when they spend extra, you know? And then even when you look at the thresholds, and then currently I'm in health practice, the exemptions, it's still, I think education also wasn't done properly. A lot of us don't understand what is applicable, where it's not applicable. I don't know if somebody goes to the hospital and decides to pay their bill by Momo, would they be taxed?
If you pay through merchant numbers, you're free.
If you pay through a merchant number,
if you pay through a normal number of the
normal number, then you would have to pay. So, I mean, things like that. So I think that the education bit is a bit.
Is it your mindset that even if we could track additional income, that income wouldn't be taxed because you definitely will be paying withholding tax, etc., even if it's an agency or consultancy you have? So.
Yeah, but even so, you see, there is, unless the purpose of the tax is different from what we were made to understand, because my understanding is that people are earning income that is not taxed. And so you want to tax that income. And so you should find a clever way of taxing that income. And I don't think the e-levy is the only way. And if it is the way, I think they should find a way of protecting those who are already taxed. Yeah. But like I said, it is here with us. So debating it now is like crying over spilled milk. how do we get it operationalized well? I welcome the suggestion by the Momo agents, but I think that the education needs to go down very, very, very well. A lot of, you call your bank, you want information, which of your transaction is
and they
taxed,
don't have.
and they are not very sure. They tell you, give us about a month, let things settle, let us know what is happening. So I think the education bit is a bit lacking. Maybe the controversy surrounding its implementation took the shine out and didn't give enough room for education. But I think that in the course of all that controversy, once government knew that definitely this will be passed, maybe education should have been going alongside so that by now people are well informed about it. But granted, now that it is here, they should still up the education so that we know exactly what to do.
Your sentiment, you've given up, right? You're joining him.
Yeah, I side with him and on a lot of the things he has said. I, in particular, I'm not too happy about the e-levy. I understand that government needs revenue and everything, and the government needs to get revenue for projects and for the running of the country. But the way in which I think it's being implemented, it's hard. It hits people to the core. A classic example is just a few days ago, I just got my salary and I had to pay somebody's, and it's a service being paid for, about 2,500 Ghana cedis. So I just had to do that. And right away, almost close to 50 Ghana cedis. And so I was like, wow. So I'm in the country, I'm standing here, somebody's standing there, paying fees for this person, and then somebody's in the middle and said that I'm taking 50 Ghana out. I'm taking 50 Ghana out. And it doesn't, and this is a salary I received that had been taxed already. Yeah. And then again, how to tax? I send money to my mother. And if my mother said, oh, I also want to send something to my grandkids. So I sent 200 cedis to my mother, and then I'll be taxed. And she also wants to send something to her grandkids. She'll be taxed. And I think it's multiple taxation. And it's more, for me, more like taking money out of the pockets of people, whether they like it or not. I think that there are other ways to raise the money for projects, but the e-levy way, whereby there's not even a cap on it. Yeah. But any amount beyond this threshold will be taxed 1.5%. So if you should transact business of 100,000 Ghana cedis
a day,
or
within a period,
within that period, you are supposed to be giving government 1,500 cedis. I mean, that's
big money. Big money. Would you say it's gone under the drain? I mean, for you.
Yeah, money gone under the drain because, again, if we are in a setting where we see our taxes working and you can see evidence that it's working really, sometimes you don't complain. I was just telling Titus that a friend of mine sent me pictures from the UK where they are asphalting roads. And it's like, not that there are potholes on the road, but there's a schedule that maybe every 4 years, this road has to be asphalted. And you see your tax working. You're not waiting for problems to come. So even in that situation, we are always doing firefighting. So problems come and you're looking for money too. But there's no schedule that at this point in time, you know that because I'm paying my tax, every 4 years, the road in front of my house is going to be asphalted. In that case, you see something like that. And again, with this e-levy, I began to see something. I got some messages from some of the banks, which indicate some emails, which indicated that from bank transfer to bank transfer beyond has a higher threshold, beyond which you would not be beyond which you be taxed actually. So I was like, no, I thought it was 100.
You needed to get some clarification.
So I went back to the Bank of Ghana page and I just checked, and I found that with the amendments that were made to the e-levy, it so happens that yes, Momo to bank to wallet and wallet to bank, and then there was this other side that mentioned the fact that, and for bank to bank transfer, there will be a certain threshold which will be determined by the Minister of Finance. Yeah. And so I think that with that, people are likely to be going more into the bank. So indirectly, I was like, okay, so is this something? Is an idea to move money from the telcos into the banks, because you are likely to I mean, is
It's
easier.
a medical doctor's conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because I think the bank threshold I'm told has been set at 20,000 or
Exactly.
something per day.
So-
Meanwhile, the ordinary transfer is
It depends on
100
which
Ghana.
bank
So-
also, because some prestigious or prestige banks decide also to set some threshold as well. So.
Yes, actually to
So-
encourage business. And you see, I think that we would end up eroding some of these gains
That we've made over the period in using the electronic platform.
Yesterday, I had to go and pay duty for something, and
Right.
I just had to pay cash. And I told the guys, now we're back to cash economy, no more
Let's
cashless.
quickly get on to our main conversation. The reason why we're here today is because we basically decided to assemble you great minds within the medical profession. One in medical union politics, then also
In medical education. I'm a lecturer in the medical school.
Yeah, but lecture. No, I know you had to add that as well. But
Because that's my primary job.
okay, I'll take that. And then you also, as a daily practitioner, all of you also consult in many fronts within the profession. And it's also because within the last week, if not the last couple of days, bigger issues have come about some policy implementation activities by government that haven't gone on so well. Just yesterday, we'll bring you an insert in which we have the ranking on the Health Committee of Parliament, also Member of Parliament for Dwaboso, Kwabena Minta Akando, raising issues about the current state of the National Health Insurance Scheme being run by the authority and how late releases of funds, because we have statutory funds, were taxed, and so the funds need to be forwarded to the National Health Insurance Authority to provide service providers. But he has been raising some concern. Let's play that instead. When we come back, we'll, as practical people, those in the profession, look at how currently the National Health Insurance Authority is running the scheme and how service providers are also managing within the structure. We don't have the video ready, but that was what Akando said, and I'm sure you might have heard him as well. The late, I would say, onward transfer of the monies that were taxed, because if you look at the tax component of whatever you buy, we have the NHIL levy or the NHI levy. Okay, it's supposed by the act that establishes the Health Insurance Authority and the scheme be forwarded in time to pay service providers. Practically, what is on the ground?
Well, so this is something that the Medical Association has had concern to talk about in the past. In fact, we did an entire public lecture on healthcare financing, and we'll focus on the NHIS. We've made a lot of contributions in terms of how the policy of NHIS should run. As it is now, these funds are collected. They are not ring-fenced. They are not earmarked. They are not sent directly. They are sent into a larger pool, the consolidated fund. And then Parliament sits and describes a formula for the distribution or how these funds should be spent. And then they are subsequently sent to the NHIA for payment to providers. Practically, as we said, as of August 2021, that facility providers, NHIS providers have been paid. From September 2021 till date, most facilities have not been paid. I dare say no facility, because the last payment received was for August 2021. If you look at the act, if you look at the contract the NHIA has with providers, this payment should not be outstanding by more than even 6 months. 3 months accepted because of processing and all. Now we are doing e-claims, so it should even be faster and quicker. But we are late since September. And this is because this money is not ring-fenced. And the money goes into the consolidated fund before, according to a certain appropriation formula, money is disbursed. And if you go into the details of it, you realize that not all of what we pay is even really going into the NHIA for health service delivery. So that is a core problem. Question is, can we change the law so that these monies directly go to the NHI for them to invest, for them to use? I think that will be the best. And you see, this will be justification for payment of more taxes. And as he mentioned, sometimes the tax is earmarked for something. You see the money, but it doesn't get to do what it was earmarked for. And then the ordinary person complains. Now, the delays has serious ramifications in health delivery. If you go to the facility levels, we have serious stockouts. I mean, there's a facility in my village in Hamley. When you go there, the people are complaining. The indigents around have lost confidence in the health center because anytime they go, there are no medications. Even paracetamol sometimes they don't have. So why go there? You go there, you are given a prescription to go and buy. And this is common in a lot of facilities because they are stifled of funds because of these delays. People who have supplied them drugs are chasing them. People who have supplied them services are chasing them. Heads of facilities are running, trying to find a way out. And getting essential drugs becomes a challenge. And that is a down. But when you sit at the national level, sometimes you don't feel the impact. But there's real impact when these delays occur.
And it's good that you, as a consultant physician, you're also able to, onwardly with your network and your colleagues, able to get a feedback from the ground, even at the level of private insurance, onwardly into consultancy or practice, and then also what happens at the OPD. These daily issues about daily utilization being now not forthcoming or underutilized, and then also the funding not coming early enough for the service providers. How has it been crippling the entities so-called that have been enrolled onto the scheme, and then also affecting the cases of the patients?
I think it affects both ways. So there's that danger that the situation as it stands now does not just affect the service provider, but also affects the patient the quality of care that the patients are supposed to get. Because if a health facility, for that matter, is stifled of funds and they cannot stock up, then people come in there and sometimes, consciously or unconsciously, as soon as they see that the person is not cash paying and it's national health, then subconsciously something changes. Because once you are giving that service, it will take forever.
I don't understand.
It will
You're on national health insurance scheme. And so if I'm having a national card for a national health authority or a scheme, I should be given some preferential treatment. Are you saying psychologically the health service provider or the professional tends to have a certain rethinking at the point of delivery in real time?
People still think business in terms of how long their money is going to be staying out there and not being paid, and how the kind of devaluation we have is going to affect the money when it is paid. If somebody hadn't been paid since September last year, when the dollar was 6 cedis to a dollar, and now the person will be paid the same amount of money, technically, if we had to pay everything today. Now the dollar has, the cedi has depreciated. The quantum of money or the value of the money would have devalued. And again...
But what does it matter? You're sourcing your drugs from NS chemists and item drugs and so on. So you shouldn't be worried. It's not as if you're going...
But wherever you are sourcing from, they buy from outside. They buy with the dollar. So by the time you are going to buy these drugs again, the price would have tripled. And as we sit, cost of medical equipment, cost of medications have all, just like everything has skyrocketed. They've all skyrocketed.
Just because of forex fluctuations.
That's right. So when you have this money paid, it still becomes like a drop in the ocean as far as what you want to do. And therefore, the patients will not get medications at what we call one-stop shop. So sometimes, just to be on the safer side, they might consult for you as well. Definitely, they will do the consultation and write medications for you to go outside and buy. Not every pharmacy would maybe be taking just the national health insurance card. You may have to pay. So people, as I said, when the hunter has learned to shoot without missing, the birds also learn to fly without perching. So people also find ways to protect their businesses. At least the consultation fee with the kind of drugs you have to buy.
Well, that's Dr. Dennis Botte, quoting a lot of the proverbs from the politician ABA Fuseni. But talking about politician, let's go to Kwabena Mintah Kando, the ranking on the Health Committee of Parliament and raising issues about the daily drudgeries that would have to confront service providers and users of the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Things that integration of the national ID card to the National Health Insurance Authority card is being done at no cost to the scheme, and that the scheme is going to benefit from saving made through this integration process. However, the fact remains within the 2022 National Health Insurance Fund allocation formula document that the National Health Insurance Authority is expected to pay 10.6 million Ghana cedis to the National Identification Authority for data integration. So it's not for free. What makes matters even worse is that his lies about the replacement of the National Health Insurance Authority card with Ghana card are also false. This year's allocation provides some 54.6 million for the printing of some 2.6 million National Health Insurance Authority cards at 26 Ghana cedis per one. So it is not true that we are not paying anything because of national ID cards. We cannot continue to lie our way into solving critical national problems. We cannot also continue to ignore flagrant violations of laws enacted to ensure good health care for all Ghanaians. We cannot allow the future of the scheme to be hijacked by Nado and his law-breaking finance minister.
But it would also mean that we need to have some rethinking. Now, almost 15 years after this implementation, you are advocating perhaps we need to take a relook at the scheme, its funding, and how perhaps the operation of the scheme itself goes. How should we go about it?
Well, so, in fact, let me just...
lay a certain preamble.
Yeah, and say good morning and congratulations to our colleague who has been appointed the acting CEO, Dr. Okoboy, and hoping that under his regime, they will need to do a lot. First of all, some of the fundamental changes that need to occur, we have to take a critical decision. We are paying a certain premium. Mm-hmm. We are all paying taxes towards the same scheme. And people who are not paying, like if you buy anything, you have contributed to the scheme, but you need to have the scheme card to benefit. So there is some inequity there. If we want to make it that everybody is taxed in a way, and this scheme is available to every Ghanaian, let's make it that way. Because everything we buy, we each contribute some percentage to this scheme. But it's only those who pay additional premium, either as government workers or pay premium directly, who are beneficiaries. So their additional contribution for those who don't pay that premium, where does it go to? Secondly, why is the scheme funds not ring-fenced? Can we look at the law to get this ring-fenced? Third, we have to come to a point. Are we willing to accept co-pay or not co-pay? Truth is that co-payment is happening. Maybe not in a lot of public facilities, but in a way it's happening. Even in the public facilities, you may not be asked to pay money directly. But if the drug you want is not there and they give you a prescription to go, you have to finance your health care. So people are paying in addition to the scheme for their health care. So in the review, these are some of the critical things we have to look at.
And the Ghana Medical Association should be at the forefront, of which you're also a member. Your general secretary is here, so it helps. And you even have your member being now the newly appointed CEO. So perhaps some of these things could be pushed. Yeah. Dr. Asana owned a number of, he's late now, past 2 years ago in Northern Ghana, owned a number or a string of medical facilities. Sometimes he would have to call me, and may so rest in peace, would have to do advocacy, do some dibo, what we call in journalism some dibo, try to make noise before we get the authorities, because they are service providers. They will be owed over a year, sometimes 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. That's what has happened. Just yesterday, I called some couple of friends who also are operators, operate pharmacies, operate small clinics, and some string of medical facilities, and they are owed from September up to date. It depends even on where you are in Ghana, you could be owed more. Yeah. And if we say we want to reform, how do we do that reformation in such a way that the ordinary Ghanaian who perhaps doesn't have influence like you and I, because you have more influence than me, I may also have more influence than some others, but those downtrodden, so to speak, will get the services and not go and buy drugs outside the medical facility?
Yes. The situation is that dire. We cannot run away from the reality. I was speaking to Titus earlier on, and we were talking about the fact that even in the first world countries, where America, I think, spends, as of 2000, America spends about $4,700 per capita in terms of health. So it's coming about $1.3 trillion a year in healthcare. Even then, they have problems. Even then, their health system, there's copay. They still have copay there. Now, the reality
so
of
copay
the
is very important.
We
have to make considerations.
Sometimes taking that kind of decision is a political decision. It has to do with political will, because once we have sunk into the minds of the people that healthcare is free, once you go back and say that, okay, now you have to pay part, then it becomes a political disincentive or a political negative for you. If we have free SHS and later we go and say that, okay, now you have to, it becomes a problem. But copay is a way to, it's one of the ways you can look at it, because obviously government is not able to shoulder it alone. Otherwise, we'll be having all these late payments all the way saying September, and we would have to look at the law again, in order that when monies are collected, you and I, we pay, we know 2.5% we pay. Why can't the money go directly? That it has to go through the consolidated fund, and then somebody decides how much you go. And these are the things that are affecting. And if you mention Dr. Asana, also my senior colleague, just like him, I mean, having a chain of hospitals, and he's going through that, I'm hoping that it's not the stress of this situation that even caused a downturning of his health. Because these things are likely to affect a person's health. Even the owners of hospitals, a lot of them have to sell property in order to keep a hospital.
Just to offset.
Yes.
Waiting that the money will come.
Waiting that the money will come. And by the time the money comes, it's all so hugely devalued because of the rate at which the city depreciates. So it's a big problem that we should get to the point that what we are doing indirectly, in terms of the co-pay indirectly, we should just make it official for people to understand that when you go, maybe there's a little you also have to top up. It's your health. Yeah,
definitely. So it looks like there's apparently cash and carry going on in the system. But on the political and national front, we're told that that's not the case. But as it is, it also would have to come from all of us. All of us need to contribute. Well, just in case you've had some experiences at a health facility, make sure you go to TV3 Ghana on Facebook, Twitter, and give us your comments right there. And then also, we'll read a couple of them to you. You know, our WhatsApp platform. We have to go for a break, but always make sure that when you're sending those messages, you add the hashtag TV3NewDay. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about Agenda 111. Apparently, the initial plans were told that were designed by the great Sir David Ajayi will now be altered, just because apparently also some lands that were acquired, others not yet acquired, have different dimensions than the ones that previously we had designed for the initial projects. But according to medical people, it could have some implications on the services, the cost, etc. How would that come about? Was the General Secretary for the Medical Association, as well as Dr. Dennis Bote right here. Stay on, we'll be right back.
President Akufo-Addo, in his 2022 State of the Nation's address in March, assured that government's Agenda 111 hospitals project would be ready before the end of his second term of office.
We have every intention of seeing this project through to its successful end, which will enable me to commission all 111 hospitals before I leave office on 7th January 2025.
The Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu, while taking delivery of some medical supplies from the Italian government, reiterated construction work has commenced in some of the districts. He, however, noted there still remains a challenge in acquiring land space for work to commence in some regional capitals. According to the minister, due to this challenge, the initial design of the project will be changed.
It's too early for me to predict whether it will finish or not. But optimistically, that is what we want to do. and we try to push ourselves. We still have challenges living land, especially in the big cities like Accra and Kumasi. We are now changing the infrastructure, design, so that instead of spreading across bigger land area, we want to go up. So they are doing designs and looking at soil testing and fence in some areas where we have challenges. Even in the communities, the districts, some chiefs are coming, and there are litigation.
So that's Kweku Agyeman-Manu, the health minister. Is even as health minister unsure how the structures are going to be, how the alterations are going to come about, and then also whether we're going to be the requirement and the target, etc., of building them, as earlier stated by the president, by the end of his term. But it should bother all of us, whether I'm a journalist or a medical practitioner, like, for example, the General Secretary right here. And Dr. Bayu, when you heard this from the health minister, were you bothered, and why?
Okay, so I was bothered. And in fact, it started when the president announced that they were not likely to complete it by the time scheduled.
Why is that?
And they had extended it now to the end of his tenure. First thing is that these hospitals are needed. They are in districts that do not have district hospitals, which means they are going to increase access to healthcare. And I saw the announcement to be, I was expecting maybe a more detailed policy brief following that announcement, but that didn't come. Because if you are going to build 111 hospitals, and for one reason or the other, you think you can no longer do all of that, can we get a breakdown? How many are we expecting by what period? And how did we prioritize them? Because we know, for instance, some are in places, some are regional hospitals, replacing older regional hospitals or standing by some other regional hospital. Some are in districts where there is no hospital at all. So if you are unable to complete all by the schedule you've given, and now we are extending it to the end of your tenure, which is around 2024, what is the prioritization like? What determines which one is selected first? That's a critical question we need to know. Because are we finishing 5 this year? Are we finishing 10 next year? Are we finishing 20? And where would they be located? Because this statement is quite vague. And for a health practitioner, I would be happy to know what informs where we are selecting as a priority. And I'm saying this because the critical question is access. Because if you go to a whole district that there's no district hospital, and this is the one that they are relying on, and it happens to be one of those that will come at the tail end, then I'm worried. And I'm worried because we've seen a situation where in this country, when there's transition of power from government to another government, whether within same party or different party, priorities change. And
sometimes projects are even stalled. Exactly.
We've seen what happened when this government came in. A lot of hospitals were abandoned. We all made calls. The GMA made calls for some of these facilities to be completed because a lot of money had been invested in them. So I think it's important for us to know the order. If we are doing phases, tell us phase 1 will be this, phase 2 will be that, phase 3 will be that. And let us know. Let's take a stakeholder engagement be done so that we will all advise which ones are more critical. So that if you have, because we all know that we are in economic challenges. So because of financing, maybe you may not be able to do all at a go. If we were to select only 10, speak to the stakeholders. Which 10 we want it to be prioritized? And we'll be able to give you some information based on data.
Now, I do know that even for a layman like me, when you want to change an architectural plan and structure, etc., it will have to affect cost.
Exactly.
And then if it's a facility, it would affect service that will be provided by the facility. And what could be the end result or effect of these changes? Because now we're being told that some of them will have to now be story buildings, the layout will now to be shrinked, etc.
Okay, so the bottom line is that, these changes that are reported or they want to do are just going to cause the undue delay of these projects coming into fruition. Because as you said, if you are going to change design, again, it will cost money. Just even the drawings will cost another money. And you know how much money goes into just the structural designs of these buildings. It's going to cause unnecessary delay. And again, the one Agenda 111, as ambitious and as lofty as the idea is, and as he said, we are doctors. We know the challenges we have in healthcare as far as access is concerned. We'll be more than happy to see all these things coming into our district and our towns where people have greater access to healthcare. But I think as ambitious as it is not realistic. I haven't seen any government in this country that has come and within a space of 4 years has been able to achieve this. And I don't think any magic is going to happen. So basically, I think that we should prioritize where we want to take what. And again, so much money is going to be pumped into this. We have certain facilities that are still in limbo. There are certain facilities that have not been completed. I don't know if some of these energies are being channeled to complete them. Some are getting to dilapidated states, and we need to revamp them and get them working, rather than going to start something that, like he said, is not likely to be completed within the term or within the period. And then we again project into the time that this president will be leaving office. Whoever comes later, if it happens to be the same party, I don't know if it will continue, or if it happens to be another party, will they even continue? And assuming we just start 110, we know what happened to our e-blocks that we have.
There's a current ongoing debate about how a number of them are sitting in the bushes.
Why would you want
abandoned?
Why would you start 110 things that you know that definitely we can't? We shouldn't kid ourselves. We shouldn't play the ostrich that we are going to be able to finish this in 1.5 years. No. I mean, I just look, sometimes I drive around Abosoka and I look at the interchange and I just keep asking myself, how many years has it been? When are we going to finish this interchange? I think if not for anything at all, I think it's been like 5 years. And we just done one side. And we think that we can do 111 hospitals in how many, 1.5 years?
You mean the one at Obechebi?
Obechebi. It's taken us so long to finish that. And we think that, so we are going to start another 111 and won't be able to complete. And somebody else might come and say that, well, I didn't start it. I'm going to audit this and audit that. And then we just end up throwing money and concrete into the ground and leaving it else.
Dr. Bayo, how important ideally should have been stakeholder consultation in all this? And why is it necessary going forward?
Well, it's pretty necessary because, you know, building a health facility is not like building a road, okay? It's not like building a school. Each of these have their different ramifications. But in the case of a health facility, I am on record, and most of our executives are on record to have said that, look, we welcome this 111 hospitals. We want them. But hospitals don't go in isolation. These are specialist hospitals.
So they go alongside
human resource. And since the announcement was made, we have not seen a deliberate effort to generate that human resource capacity to manage these hospitals.
I don't understand. We have a lot of medical practitioners from the school where you lecture, the University of Ghana.
Great.
The medical school there.
Yeah, so if you look at
etc.
Lovely. If you look at the design of these hospitals, the type of specialists, they are specialist hospitals. They are district hospitals that will require specialists. Like, I am a gynecologist. We need pediatricians. We need general surgeons. We need orthopedic surgeons, all sorts of specialties to work in these hospitals to deliver quality care and universal access to healthcare to our people. Now, it takes, on the average, about 5 years post-medical school to train a specialist to the level of a consultant. To the level of a specialist, minimum...
On the average?
On the average. Minimum is about 3 years to produce just a specialist.
Even in Ghana?
In Ghana. I'm talking of Ghana here. I'm not talking of elsewhere. And if you look at it from medical school, you have to work for 2 years before you come back for specialization for at least 3 years. Now, if indeed we're going to finish these hospitals in 1.5 years, or even by the end of tenure, 2024, and we are not seeing any deliberate attempt to increase the number of specialists we are training,
so the attempt would have been what?
No, who would
giving scholarships to go and have upgraded
So
studies?
the attempt would have been the Ghana College's training. Can we increase the capacity of the Ghana College? Can we bring out a policy that, look, we are going to earmark 10 doctors to these hospitals at these locations. So because of that...
At this rate?
Yes.
Each year?
Each year. Exactly. And then because of that, because we want you to go quickly, you are not going to wait 2 years after your medical school, after house job, quickly come in and train so that you can go to that place. The other challenge is that these hospitals are located in rural areas. Roland, one of the biggest challenges we have in this country is attracting qualified health professionals to rural areas.
I don't understand. You haven't been to a rural area to practice?
Ask right now.
Or your colleagues? They don't practice in rural areas?
Find out the distribution of doctors in this country. And you find out that over 70% of doctors in this country.
Give me some numbers. Which are?
Let me give you a number. I come from the Lambuse district, okay? In my district, the entire district, we have one doctor. One doctor in the entire district. And he is running administrative duties as the head, okay? As a district director. And there are districts like that in the country. The Ministry of Health have been working tirelessly.
One what?
Doctor.
Where?
Lambuse district in the Upper West. And this is a border district to Burkina Faso. And our health system is by far superior to Burkina Faso. People cross over coming to seek health care. And the entire district has one doctor. One, not more than one. And that's not the only case. So the Ministry of Health is to recognize this and try to come up with a package to see how they can work out on something to attract doctors to these deprived areas. This Agenda 111 appeared to be disconnected with the HR policies of the Ministry of Health. And that is a fundamental worry because you need human resource to manage this place. As we speak, doctors, nurses are leaving this country in droves. Brain drain has returned in full swing.
Who told you that?
I know that because I'm the General Secretary of the Medical Association.
How many so far?
I won't give you figures immediately, but I can give you some examples.
Give me estimates. Let's say over the last 2 years.
I'll give you a unit in a hospital I won't name. One unit in a hospital.
Is it a big hospital in Accra?
A big hospital I won't name. From January till now.
Is it a referral hospital?
5 doctors have left that unit.
January to what?
From January till now. 5 doctors have left from one unit.
Brain drain has returned to Ghana.
It is.
In the medical profession.
It is.
At what level?
In the nursing profession, and they are leaving. Speak to the unions, we talk. Speak to the nurses, speak to everybody. They are leaving. I teach in the medical school, and I have students who have formed study groups for USMLE. That's the US Medical Licensing Exam. So right from medical school, they are studying towards passing the US licensing exam and leaving.
You mean those you are teaching are already thinking
Some
of
have
leaving?
formed study groups.
WhatsApp groups?
Study groups, and they're studying on how to pass that exam and leave. So we need to do something deliberate in this country. And like I said, this Agenda 111, because of the unique location of these hospitals, apart from training the workers, we must find a way of earmarking them, attracting them, and retaining them there. So it's not, if the politicians are looking at the policy level, have built a facility, so clap for me, we'll have facilities there without people to work in them. So that is one major concern. So I am hopeful and I wish that they are able to finish all, but if we do not situate it within the human resource context, the social context, and if you go into a lot of these areas, these hospitals are located in the outskirts of town. Just as we were talking about the E-block. So these healthcare workers, even when they accept to go and work there, where would they live? There is a component of the drawing that says they are going to build some buildings for them. How many people can they accommodate there? What plans are there to make sure that these healthcare workers can stay in the surrounding villages or towns and work in this place? So it has to be a deliberate thing. And for each one of them, there must be community involvement, stakeholder engagement, engagement of the local authorities there. That, look, if you are bringing at this hospital, we will need a pharmacist, we will need 5 doctors, we will need 5 nurses. We don't have accommodation for these people. We will house them here. How can we transport them to the facility to work? These are the kind of discussions that the stakeholder, and I brought this to buttress the point that the stakeholder engagement is critical.
Dennis is fine, right? Without adding the doctor. Now, it looks like you guys, not only in Accra but across the country, you have the nuances and the knowledge of the problems that confront daily practice for you, the consultant, the physicians, and the specialists. But you don't seem to be telling the politicians what needs to be done. For example, the health minister is just saying an alteration that will be made to a plan. But it looks like even from the start, the general layout of how the structure will be built, have the right sort of incentives for medical people who should already have been specialists and then within the value chain have not been adequately laid out? Is it because it's an absence of consultation?
Well, I would say that speaking truth to power, a lot of times we tickle ourselves and laugh. We like scratching the surface of problems and tell us that we've made the attempt. It's like going to write an exam and they say attempt all questions. So you don't really finish one question and then you go to the next. And that's what I think we are trying to do here. Healthcare, holistic healthcare has got more to do with than just putting up the infrastructure or the physical infrastructure. In the past, when the first world or the developed countries, when they had those pandemics in the past, and they thought that by putting up more hospitals, people have access. They still realized that there was a bigger problem in that now healthcare has got to do with even preventative medicine or preventative healthcare, where you now want to stop people from coming to the hospital, stop them from getting sick. Now, putting the facilities there is one, as he has mentioned. The healthcare providers themselves or the healthcare workers is critical. And if you are surprised, I can also buttress what he's saying. The healthcare workers are living in drones. In facilities that you see, so many people have left. Even in private care, I am in the private practice. I know nurses who are even in the private, they are just leaving. And sometimes you wish you could tell them don't, but you don't have the moral turpitude to tell them that don't go. When they know the circumstances prevailing and what they are going through, they will prefer to get. A nurse went to study critical nursing in Canada, 2014. So I was in the US and we spoke on the phone. I said, oh, doctor, I'm very happy here. And I said, so when you finish the course, are you coming back to Ghana? He said, for the where? And I said, why? He said, oh, even in school, I do 20-hour job aside. And that 20-hour job, what I get is more than what the doctor is being paid in Ghana. So why would I go back? I said, but you have 3 children with your husband here. He said, no, that is secondary matter. I'll think about that one later. So there are things that are attracting them to go. And so we put these things up and we don't have the capacity or the human resources to man these things. We are just joking. So we shouldn't just look at putting up infrastructure or structures to say that we have put up 110 hospitals, even if you're able to do that. But getting people to work in these hospitals, and again, looking at healthcare again, you see, we sometimes talk about building facilities. You build the facilities, but what about roads? You know, you can build all the health facilities and then have very bad roads and accidents will be taking place and people will be dying even before getting to the hospital. So it's important that whilst we are looking at improving healthcare holistically, it's not just healthcare that you look at. Transportation, the safety on our roads, we are looking at even education, because good public health will tell you that good education has been seen to reduce mortality and morbidity in terms of chronic or non-communicable diseases. So education is important, that people are educated in order not to be falling sick. Other sectors would have to come into play.
That's what we'll talk about. The last end or thread of our conversation being some of the non-communicable diseases that are coming up, and how as a policy country, we're just not putting in the right sort of policies, either futuristically within the short to medium term, to be able to arrest some of these. And this one is coming from a good friend of mine, Stanley. I know that the wife is a nurse. What the senior doctor is saying is true. My wife is a nurse and her colleagues who are more than 8 have left this year. And I know that he lives in Kolebu. The wife works in Kolebu as well. A nurse will be sick and take care of her own bills, whilst a banker will be taken care of by the hospital or the company. Now, good morning, my brother. This hospital issue, I'm worried about it. Even Akachi is having a district hospital at Botame in the main township, and the government is building another district hospital at the Heta, which is not far away. Why can't we use money for the expansion of the existing hospital?
So you see why I said each of them, and I want to be blunt, and also put on record correctly. We welcome any additional facility added because we do not have enough. So if government is giving us 111, we would welcome them. We would never say they are not necessary. We want all of them. And we pray that they are able to finish them. And I want that on record. However, we need to localize each of these to the community and see what the dynamics are, because health is quite complex. Like we said, if government decided that we cannot do all immediately and wanted to prioritize. Somebody's giving a suggestion on what can happen in Akachi, and you go to another place, another suggestion can come. Maybe for hours, look, upgrade this one. Or if you are delaying hours for 4 years, in the meantime, do this for us. And let me just make one last statement. One of the reasons why this brain drain is back is the effect of COVID. COVID has created a demand for our qualified healthcare workers in other parts of the world. The UK revised their visa requirement, revised their entry requirement, Australia, a lot of them because they don't have the health workforce. So they are willing to take our people. And if we do not set up and find a way of retaining them, they will
be
leave.
in trouble. All right. And before we end this conversation, let's look at how we're having non-communicable ailments becoming or likely to become a burden on the health budget, either in the medium to long term. And this week, I just kept thinking. I went to one of these eateries, the so-called eateries, the multinational ones. And I saw that at 8 p.m., people were driving through, drive-through.
And picking up.
And I saw children, they were fat. So I thought child obesity should be a problem.
It is.
So I went to do some research. And there's just a recent one in 2020 by one Prince Kweku Akowu. I don't know whether he's a medical doctor or a lecturer or something like that. And apparently he says that approximately 19% of children in Ghana have either obesity or overweight problems. Now, the prevalence of childhood obesity and overweight was about 6 or 8.6%, respectively, 10 years before. Now we have it at 19. Ghana America, you are not worried, eh?
We are worried.
All the chibom and things that you're making our children take.
We are not making our children eat. But
why do we have this?
And
what are the longer implications on
these
on national budgets spent? And then also on productivity. That's the wellness of the human resource, either medium to long term.
It's unfortunate we won't have a lot of time to talk about this.
No, we won't. We just have 4 minutes. I think
so.
If my
I'll just
make
a brief comment on it because this is an area of my research interest, personally.
It is.
But I would say that first, at the community level, nationally, Ghana, we are facing a mixed burden of disease. We are going through infectious diseases. We are still struggling with infectious diseases. And now, non-communicable diseases that were diseases of the affluent society of the Western world because they had gone past the issue of infectious diseases. We are having our infectious disease still with that. Malaria is still here, typhoid is still here, and now we are having this coming in. That gives us what we call the double burden of disease. The impact of childhood obesity, and there's a study in Accra here that quotes about 49% in schools, which is quite significant, almost half, which means in each class, about half of the students there may either be overweight or obese. And it is not only in the cities, even in the rural areas. And the effect of it is that many of these children are at risk of diseases like diabetes, stroke.
Children?
Yes. As children and in adult life, if you are obese as a child, your risk of developing diabetes as an adult is almost 50%. So that tells you that we are not helping the children by giving them this. And some of them, the problem even began in the womb because the mother is obese, the mother was diabetic while pregnant, the baby is exposed to high levels of glucose or sugar in the mother's womb. Some genes are switched on in that child that programs the child to developing obesity later in life. So if we don't tackle this from that basis, then this is what is going to face the nation. We are going to still be struggling with our infectious diseases, and now we have a burden with us here of the non-communicable diseases. So quickly, what can we do as a nation? Because we don't have time, I don't want to go too much into the problem, but the solutions. You have grown up in Accra here, maybe like me, and most of us who are around here. Where are the parks? Go to Mamprobi.
They are the mall.
Yeah, good. Go to Mamprobi. We used to have Indafa Park, where we play.
Yes, where the Kolebu.
Yes, where most of these our stars had their training from.
You used to have some at Pig Farm.
Good. Where are the parks? They're all gone.
Oh, but they are now at East Legon.
Communities elsewhere deliberately keep parks for recreational activities. Yeah. Kids can go and play. There are places where they have bike lanes. Go to Senegal, and at the beach, just the beach in Dakar, the government has put places where people can go and exercise. Mm-hmm. What are we doing as a nation? We have sold all our parks. People have built on them.
Is it Sutherland that he is also going?
Yes. Yeah. We are sold all. We are sold all.
But
we are sold all our parks. People are building on all of them. So what is going to happen?
You don't like the condominiums and the apartments, the high-rise building. You don't like
how many of the kids I grew up with in Kolegono or my contemporaries there can play in that place? How many? And their burden will be the burden of the nation.
How?
Because if they are diabetic at 40, our health insurance will be in distress.
Yes.
If they have stroke, our system will have to cope with it. How will we do it?
A friend of mine, prior to his wedding, I think at 27 or so, collapsed.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, collapses. You know, journalists would like to use big headlines so that you get attracted. Collapse, but he passed out.
Yeah.
And apparently, his sugar level was up. Then it was there. They said he had BP issues or something. At 27, you know, he thought that if I take my Alomo concoctions and Herbafric, I'm fine.
A lot of young people are getting strokes.
Okay.
Just 2 days ago, 47-year-old woman died of hemorrhagic stroke.
Yeah. Okay. So is it because of the lifestyle, like he's painting, that's why? Give me practical scenarios that you've encountered that you think are problematic. If policy interventions are not undertaken, we could be in trouble. Let's say in the next 10 years.
I think that we are adopting Western lifestyles too quickly. A lot of the children now, you see, when we were younger, we were already on the field, either Pilolo or Chaskele or
I grew up in Ashama, so I was playing gutter to gutter.
Yes.
But now the kids in the city, a lot of them are now stuck on internet, iPad, and they are always sitting down.
And you're saying that is bad?
Of course.
It's so bad for the kids. Parents will have to be able to move their kids out of their rooms, stop them from watching television or be on the iPad. Let them go and run around on the compound. I mean, we have lost that touch where kids in our time, there were no walls in between houses. So we could practically run into the other person's house.
Now we have fences and all that.
Everywhere is fence. Kids don't know the person in the other kids in the next house. No. So they come back from school.
Speak good English.
Yes. You know,
we have schools without a park.
Exactly.
Why would anybody even permit that?
We don't have any.
A school without a park for kids to play.
And even when you want to run around the streets in our communities, how safe are our streets? Either somebody may attack you or an oncoming vehicle can just knock you. Yeah. And so you're even scared. So you would have to find money to go and pay and be in a gym. How many people can afford that? So we haven't created any green area in Accra. You go to Nairobi, there are other places in Africa. There are big parks where people can just go. In Accra, there is practically nothing. Everything is sold for property development. And these things are not helping. As much as we're talking of the changes in the kind of diets we are taking in today, the foreign diet and all these oily stuff.
Sodas and all that. Are we in trouble?
We are in trouble.
Are we in trouble?
It's a bigger pandemic.
It's a bigger pandemic. Country pandemic. But
non-communicable disease is a bigger pandemic.
But there is hope. And the hope is that if we change our lifestyle.
Which church do you go to? Nyamibeya. You are one of the Nyamibeya people. Which church? Okay, so Dr. Titus Bayo is the General Secretary, Ghana Medical Association, but also with the Ghana Medical Association, but also a lecturer, University of Ghana Medical School. I'm right?
Correct.
Right. What do you teach there?
I teach obstetrics and gynecology and pharmacology.
These are the people always first in class and who are always like 27th. So, and you also are into
private practice.
Private practice, and also a consultant physician, medical practitioner, Dr. Dennis Bote, known to us. The two of them actually are known to us in the media space. And I was told that you were into student politics as well. You were the SRC president or school prefect for
Pope John, yes.
Pope John's.
Yes.
And now you are into union leadership.
Exactly.
I wish you well. Would you like to enter party politics so that we'll measure you by the way we measure Kojo upon Kroma?
Let's leave that for now.
Well, so we have a number of birthday messages, so let me just go through. Ishmael Yamson. Dr. Ishmael Yamson, you're 80 years today, contributing to Ghana's development over the years, and what a way, uncle. Have a great one, uncle. And Iraze Unshow, aye. God bless you. And happy birthday to Fred Morrison of Reverend One Sounds. Happy birthday to Kofi Asare of Africa Education Watch. He's one man we're always worrying. And it's from all of us here at Media General. Happy birthday to Philip Nutekpo, head of the Agricultural Science Department at Awusko in the Volta region. And then also, happy birthday to you, Samesie Dubimpong, a.k.a. Big Sam. You're a teacher at Hotcast, just down the lane. Happy birthday to you. And happy birthday to Mrs. Josephine Abba Nukpanu. You're the wife of the organizer for the NDC Greater Accra, my own good friend, Anthony Nukpanu. And we all wish you well as well. Happy birthday to Saida Na Amle Bano. You are 3 years today, and it's from your daddy, Malik Bano of TV3 Conti. We wish you long life and prosperity from all of us. And then also for all you members of Liberal Street Platform, this one is from Queen Cell. She says she wishes all of you a good day. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have more right here on the show.